I want to go back to you, Hillel, about Francesca Albanese, who really doesn't like you. Can you tell us a little bit about this special rapporteur, what she does, what she stands for, and what she's trying to do right now, even as we speak, when it comes to dealing with the state of Israel?
Sure. So Francesca Albanese has the title of special rapporteur, which at the UN means a kind of investigator and monitor. She's the rapporteur on the Palestinian territories, Israel's violations in the Palestinian territories. And she is special because I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that she may be one of the most dangerous anti-Semites of our time. And why do I say that? And it's not a term I use lightly. We're often accused of always throwing around accusations of anti-Semitism. Actually, if you look at my statements and tweets and so forth, I will accuse people of bias and discrimination. Rarely use that word, even when I think it may apply. I'm hesitant. But with Albanese, I'm not hesitant, and I'll tell you why. So she's had the job for 2 years, and she's notorious for demonizing Israel. She's on Twitter every 10 minutes. She's tweeting all the time, accusing Israel of genocide. And that's not enough, right? For years it was apartheid. That was their thing. And as Shani Moore, an intellectual in Israel, told me not long ago, he said, Hillel, about a year or two ago, he said, it's clear they're doing the apartheid thing now. What's next? It's going to have to be genocide, right? What do you do after genocide? I don't know what's worse than genocide. So the other day, she came out with a thing. There's a video, some of you may have seen it, and now she got other UN rapporteurs to sign it, accusing Israel of herbicide, which I guess is destroying urban. What else? Scholasticide, medicide. Yeah. So brain fried. She just nonstop. So she's viciously anti-Israel. In November 2022, shortly after her appointment, she spoke to a Hamas conference and she said, "You have the right to resist. You have the right to resist." Now, for many people, the right to resist in Europe, it sounds nice. But of course, for Hamas, for Palestinians, that means taking an Israeli American like Hirsch Goldberg, Poland, kidnapping him into Gaza, torturing him, putting him in a dungeon, and then shooting him in the head, execution, cold-blooded. That's resistance for Hamas, and she knows it. So when she, with the UN imprimatur, says, "You have the right to resist," that's the United Nations telling Hamas, "We're with you, and you are legitimate." So she's viciously anti-Israel, but I said she's an anti-Semite. Certainly we know that in modern times, and I don't have to tell you because you have all your campuses are people who hate Jews saying, "Jews, you're baby killers because you support Israel. You support genocide because you support Israel." So that's obviously the contemporary anti-Semitism, using demonization of Israel to heap hate on Jews. But the classical anti-Semitism is also there. In 2014, in the war of 2014, Francesca Albanese, who used to work, of course, for UNRWA, all right, she was a legal person for UNRWA, and in 2014, she wrote a Facebook post to her bishop in her small town in Italy outside of Napoli. And she said, "Don Antonio," open letter on Facebook, "I'm raising money for UNRWA. Please donate to UNRWA. It's very hard. Israel's killing the Palestinians. Israel's evil, da-da-da-da-da. And the problem is America is subjugated by the Jewish lobby. America is subjugated by the Jewish lobby, and Europe is subjugated by Holocaust guilt," right? This is Hitler stuff. Hitler, the protocols of the elders of Zion, Jews control the banks and the media and everything else. America is subjugated by the Jewish lobby. So she's openly anti-Semitic. She is obsessed with comparing Israelis to Nazis. In the past year, she wrote an open response to President Macron, who said that the October 7th attacks was the worst anti-Semitic attack against Jews since the Holocaust. Fact. She wrote back, no, on Twitter, "No, not true. The October 7th was just a response to Israel's oppression," right? Basically, the Jews brought on October 7th themselves. I was just at an anti-Semitism conference in the Austrian parliament in Vienna last week, and the leading scholar from Germany said, this is classical anti-Semitism, saying the Jews brought the Holocaust upon themselves, that was said, and now in modern times, the Jews brought October 7th upon themselves. A few weeks ago, another former UN official, Craig Mochaiber, put on Twitter pictures of Hitler from the 30s and pictures of Netanyahu rendered in black and white to make it look the same. So Netanyahu is Hitler. And she responds and she writes, "I had the same idea myself. I was thinking the same thing," for which she was condemned by the US for anti-Semitism. And that was good. So what are we doing? Just in 2 minutes, we need to hold her to account. As Anne said, when she comes in October, I hope all Americans who can be in New York should have a major protest, left, right, whatever, if you're against anti-Semitism, she is the leading anti-Semite of our time. American Jews and non-Jews should be there to protest against her. We're doing a few things. We tried to hold her to account. Sometimes, you know, Al Capone was murdering people in Chicago. They couldn't get him for murder, but they got him for taxes. So she's a vicious anti-Semite who supports terrorism, but maybe we'll get her on something else. She went to Australia last year in November, and her trip was sponsored by pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas groups. Well, a UN expert can't be sponsored by outside groups, so we sent letters, complaints. How could they sponsor? Where are the receipts? No answer. She said, I didn't take any money, I promise, ask them. She tweeted them. She didn't. No, we didn't sponsor it. They sponsored it. The UN sponsored it. The UN sponsored it? The UN has no money. In Geneva, the escalators, when I go up to the Human Rights Council, don't work. They say, we have no money. They can't hire staffers for dozens of legitimate positions. They have no money. Yet they sent the Palestine expert, who's supposed to investigate Israel, to Australia for $20,000 with her assistant, Sarah Troyan, from Amsterdam, to Australia and New Zealand. How do they possibly justify paying for that? So she's on the defensive. The UN wrote me back. I didn't expect it, from the OIOS, Oversight Office, Investigations Department, say, we've opened a case number, such and such, and we've passed on the file to the UN Human Rights High Commissioner for his attention and action. So, Anne and others know that it's now already a jury of her own peers. It's another committee, but she's feeling some heat. There's announced some kind of investigation. And in the next week, I hope, we'll announce a major report about Albanese documenting all of her abuses. We have letters going to 10 universities that have despicably sent her a research assistant. No university should send a research assistant to someone who's been condemned by the United States, France, Germany, for racism, for anti-Semitism. Finally, we're writing to Secretary Blinken. She may be obliged under the US agreement with the UN to let her visit New York in October. Even that you could challenge, but let's say they have to let her in there. They don't have to let her go 5 feet outside of the UN. She should not be speaking in Princeton, where she's scheduled to speak, not in Georgetown, and not anywhere else. She should be denied a visa for supporting terrorism.
Thanks for watching. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and hit subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Until next time, stay informed and inspired. This is Dejobnik signing off.